Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yogaphora, owner and director at Yogaphora LLC, massage therapy and yoga. We are here at the CIBC place located in Brentwood, Missouri, right off of Highway 40, across the street from Whole Foods. And today I have the pleasure to sit down with a very special guest. His name is John Mandelker, a man who brings together decades of experience in business, finance, and entrepreneurship. And now channels that wisdom into personal training and holistic wellness right here at FlexTime Fitness in Brentwood. So we essentially share the workspace here at Deb Haston's FlexTime Fitness. And you're welcome to visit anytime. So John's journey from mergers and acquisitions to strengthen fitness offers a rare and inspiring blend of practicality, transformation, and purpose. We'll explore not just his work as a trainer, but also the values, the insights, and life lessons that shape who he is today. Let's dive in and learn more about the man behind the movement. John, thank you for being here.
Andrea, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my honor is mine. It's good to be seen, as our good friend John D says all the time when he walks into the gym. It's good to see you. It's good to be seen. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your fitness journey and what inspired you to become a personal trainer, especially so late in life.
Yeah, so in my 20s, early 30s, I was part of the early movement, going to gyms, went to a gym called Valley Fitness, long gone. But then,
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I meant to turn it off. But then I had children. And I think, like most people find out and discover, is that children evolve our lives. Our lives change.
I can attest. I have a 10-year-old boy.
We're tired for at least the first 4 years. They're since they're born. I have 2 kids, so that was 6 years for me, 6 to 7 years of being tired. And then they start having activities, and you're driving them around, and all of a sudden something has to go, particularly with all my business travel I had. So I stopped working out about age 32, 33, and picked it up when my youngest daughter turned 16 and could drive herself.
That's right. So you had more time to yourself.
All of a sudden, it was like finding a whole new source of time. And so I knew that I was not in the shape that I was in my 20s. I mean, that's a fact of life. I was still playing pickup soccer on the weekends, and people were younger than me, and they were kicking my butt on the soccer field. So I went to a gym, and I picked a trainer because I wanted to, one, be as fit as I can, be competitive on my so important weekend pickup soccer matches. I wanted to be able to get through outdoor physical yard work without having to say, done for the day, I'll finish tomorrow or the next weekend. And then there's the vanity aspect of I wanted to look better in my clothes.
Interesting.
But when I started,
were you looking different back then? Like bigger or?
It's not just weight, because weight's a complicated metric.
Correct.
There's muscle weight versus overall weight. But yes, I lost weight, I dropped a size, and most importantly, I felt better, more energy, better sleep, all the things that come from exercise. But as a client, I must have been a real pain to work with, because I was always asking my trainer questions. Well, why are we doing hammer curls instead of regular curls? And he was very patient with me, and he'd walk me over to the Da Vinci anatomical photograph, and he would show me the different muscles and say, well, we don't have biceps is plural for a reason, not because we have 2 arms, but because there's lots of different muscles in there, and there's lots of different muscles in our quads and our hamstring. And so, because even the best program doesn't give us complete functional exercise, you have to work different things. So I became more and more interested. And then as I got older, as I got close to 60, I started reading books on longevity and the concept of healthspan. And I realized that the ultimate drug to make you not look old is exercise.
Absolutely.
The ultimate drug to make you feel better is exercise.
Yes.
And the ultimate drug of living longer in a healthful manner is exercise. And so with that, I realized
It is a form of movement therapy, by the way. I was the instructor who And it doesn't have to be weights necessarily. Weights at an older age definitely helps with the loss of muscle mass, for sure.
Preventing muscle mass loss, preventing
sarcopenia. Is that called sarcopenia?
Yes, it is. So when I was winding down my private equity practice, because all good things come to an end,
yes.
My wife said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I guess I'll go to the gym more." And she said, "Well, why don't you help other people who are in the same stage you were in when you learned about the importance of exercise?" And I guess I become more of a, I say I'm a evangelist, or I'm a consultant, or I'm a, it's not just telling people what they're going to do,
right,
and how many and counting their reps for them, because most people can count to 1 to 15. That's pretty simple. It's more about helping people understand the meaning behind what they're doing and how that's going to benefit long term. For instance, standard exercise, you pick up 2 dumbbells and you do a step up. What that's mimicking is walking up the stairs.
Yes.
And what I tell my clients is, one day when you're in Paris for 4 weeks in the 4th story walk up, where the elevator goes out every other day, and you're carrying up 2 bags of grocery that weigh 20 pounds each, you'll be happy you did these exercises.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's all like rehearsal and preparation.
It's preparation for what lies ahead
for
of us.
the journey in life itself.
When you bend over to pick up your grandchild or great-grandchild,
yeah,
that's a deadlift.
Yep, absolutely. We're all athletes, whether we know it or not.
Everybody is athletic.
Yes, great thoughts. Awesome. So, why did you focus on adults 50 plus in your fitness practice rather than
Well, 50 is a pretty important age.
Yes.
Because it's still relatively easy to build muscle mass. And what we're doing, the reason we're trying to build muscle mass is the same reason we're trying to build savings in our 401ks, because we intend to live off those savings as we get older when we're not working.
Yes.
And the reason we build muscle mass is because with the inevitable loss of muscle and bone density as we age, it's natural, we can't stop it, but we can slow it down. And the more we slow it down, the more we're able to stay active later in life.
Great.
And so what I learned is a message for people over 50, and I don't think that I'd be much helpful with a 24-year-old professional tennis player who has totally different needs than what I'm able to.
Absolutely, I agree. So people hire a personal trainer because they need an accountability partner, right? By knowing that you're paying somebody that's going to show up at that time and is going to micromanage your reps, your weights, and he knows exactly what's on the menu for the day. That's how people see value in the services you offer as a personal trainer. But what are the common challenges do you see in this age group of 50 plus?
Well, I think for everybody, the biggest challenge is making time for it. Because we start with breakfast meetings in the morning, we have lunch meetings, we work late to get the stuff done because all the meetings of the day that kept us from getting to things, and then by the end of the day we're tired.
Yes.
Though some people prefer working out after work because they still have energy. It's not the same for everyone. And so helping people to prioritize their long-term health, that's the hardest thing for people to do. The bad habits are the easy habits. You pick up a cigarette, you pick up a drink, you pick up a potato chip. The effects of that are way off in the future, and the pleasure is now. Working out's different. Yes, eventually you enjoy the endorphins that get released from working out, but that's well into your journey. And the benefits of being in better shape, when you're 80, when you're 75, and you can do things that your peers can't do, that's a long ways in the future.
So are you saying that people 50 plus, once you pass the 50-year-old mark, have a more narrow, you mentioned that people get tired at night, prefer to work out in the morning. So you're saying that past that 50-year-old mark, we have a more narrow emotional and physical bandwidth.
I think the problem of time is true for everyone. Hopefully, as people reach 50, they've reached a point in their career that they have a little more flexibility in time. And maybe what they can do my business partner, he would leave every day, he'd leave the office every day at 11:15. He'd go do a HIIT fit class. He'd shower, get dressed, stop at Schnucks, pick up a salad, and come back to the office. He was gone an hour and a half.
Right.
And you know, when we're 25, no boss is going to let us have an hour and a half lunch. But
Yes.
when you're 50, and people know you're working late and getting up early and such, there's a little more flexibility.
Gotcha. So tell me, how do you tailor training sessions for someone over 50?
Well, the most important thing is to understand, I think there's a saying in Buddhism that you have to meet people where they're at. And so the first step is to understand where people are at.
Right.
I know I'm ending a sentence with a preposition, which is incorrect, but I think everyone understands.
I do.
And it can be, do you have aches and pains? You know, sitting in a chair, sitting in an airplane seat shortens your hamstrings, and a lot of people complain of lower back ache. I think 80% of Americans have a lower back problem at some point in their lives. People who work on computers with their arms out there, and as their eyesight gets worse and lean forward, can develop problems in their upper back and neck.
Hyperkyphosis, etc.
Yeah, so the first is to understand what that is, and someone who's 50 plus is going to have collected more of these things along the way because life wears us down to some degree than somebody who's 25.
Correct.
And then the second part is to understand their goals. And you know, unlike me at 50, where I still thought looking good was important, most people in their 50s are thinking more long term. They want to increase flexibility, mobility, and the key is, because there's only an hour to work, is to tailor a program that addresses all the things they want. One of my clients, her favorite thing was a twofer, where whatever movement you're doing, you're getting two things done at once. And that could be a row and a squat combined on a cable machine, or it could be something that doing a bicep curl standing on one leg, so you're working on balance and doing the bicep curl at the same time. And so
sharpen nervous system and with unpredictability, right?
Yeah, but it allows you to be even more effective with that hour.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So, as you know, you probably would agree that we are creatures of habit, right? So to essentially persuade somebody to switch from a sedentary life to introduce exercise in their life, especially at a later stage when the habits have already been baked into their routines, it can be challenging, right? So my next question is, what are the myths about aging and exercise that you often debunk?
Well, I think the biggest myth, and it's not so much aging, it's gender. My daughters say, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get muscle. I don't want to look muscle bound. I don't want to look, I want to stay looking feminine.
I want to look buff.
And I try to explain to them that muscles are largely driven by testosterone.
Correct.
And it's very, very hard for a woman to build big muscles without really putting a lot of time and effort into it. There are women championship bodybuilders that obviously put 2 or 3, 4 hours. But working 2 or 3 hours a week lifting weights, it's toning, it's not building muscle. That's the single biggest myth.
Right. What about genetics? If there's genetics involved,
Well, I'd like to be 6 foot. I'm not. I'm 5'8". And that's a limitation for me that I've dealt with lots of life. On the other hand, when I'm on an airplane, there's a benefit of being 5'8". I'm a lot more comfortable than the 6'4" former football player. Same thing is true here. I'm not going to build huge biceps and muscles because genetically I wasn't programmed that way.
That's correct.
And there's another trainer here who does, and I'm like his little brother. But that's what it is. But it doesn't mean I can't be my best self. And that's really the thing that all of us should be looking for is our best self.
Yes, 100%. And I often describe it as finding your own sense of individuation, as psychologist Carl Jung used to define and explain as theories.
Can I come back to your point on habit for
Yes, please.
So a lot of people may have heard about a book called Atomic Habits, which came out in the last 2, 3, 4 years. And when you read it, you're going to say, duh, I know that. And a lot of the stuff he says is very, makes a lot of sense. But he has a framework such as, if you don't want to eat potato chips, best way not to eat potato chips is don't buy them at the grocery store.
Right.
Because
keep them in the house.
at 9:30 at night, when you have a craving for a potato chip and they aren't there, you have a choice. Get in the car, go to a 24-hour Schnucks or 7-Eleven, or just say, I'll cut an apple up. And so the book helps people along the way. And I think as a trainer, part of what I need to do is listen to the challenges my clients have and help them build their good habits and help them eliminate the bad habits.
Speaking of bad habits, just to open a parenthesis, as you probably know, there are substances that are more addictive than others. Sugar is one of them, but the most common ones that are essentially legalized drugs in most countries, but even more so in the US, is drugs and alcohol. Correctly prescribed medications and alcohol, right? You mentioned the potato chips, but what about more heavily addictive substances like alcohol? Let's just take alcohol as an example. How would you break the addiction of drinking alcohol, or at least?
I'm not really. That's not really in my
scope of practice. Yes. But if you do have a client with a problem with alcohol, how would you do that? How would you address that?
Well, they've changed the idea of what alcohol in moderation means. Now, it used to be, 2 glasses of red wine was actually healthy. They've now come around and said, well, we got confused with the other factors that were going on with the group we studied. And now they say probably 4 glasses of alcohol a week is probably considered moderation. People are very sensitive about that. And it's probably not a place to start with someone. And I think there's better things to work on that are less tender for people. And for the most part, if it's not affecting people's ability to live their lives, then it's not destructive. You mentioned sugar. I think sugar is much worse than alcohol. And frankly, part of alcohol's problem is the sugar it has, and it spikes your glucose.
Yes.
And I think that it's much better to help people work on sugar. And if they have a problem with alcohol, I think that's going to come from a self-realization or from a loved one, not their trainer.
As a trainer, do you think that the best approach is to lead by example? Like you model the approach first in your personal life. People look at you as a trainer and you are the go-to model of fitness, and people will follow you without imposition but out of invitation. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to bring a bag of chips and eat them off my trainer while they're working. What I try to do is get to know people as people, meet them where they're at.
Yes.
And I think my job is to be entertaining during the session. So I'm not only am I working on my hard 10-minute comedy stand-up routine. just kidding. That's not a. But I do want to tell stories, and I particularly want to tell stories about myself and the things I had to deal with and the things I had to overcome that they may be facing too. Not to say, oh, look what I can do, but it's like more to say, I empathize. I understand it really is hard if you're trying to drive sugar out of your life.
Yes.
And here are some things that I did that helped me get a start. I still have my chocolate challenges.
The little indulgences here and there, of course. I see that you're working, because when I walk into FlexTime Fitness, I always find John working out. They're disciplined. Every single day he shows up for himself. And he is, how old are you, 68?
69.
69, 69 anni. Mamma mia. So please, if you want to share, what is your current training regimen like these days?
So I made a recent change. I have exercise-induced asthma, which is really bad for playing soccer. It takes a long time for me to warm up and open up my lungs. You have to use an inhaler sometimes, and sometimes I have to use a daily steroid inhaler.
Pre-workout?
When I do cardio, and when I play soccer, I need it.
Okay.
When I'm lifting weights, when I'm doing resistance training, I might take a longer pause. And I encourage my clients, I say, I whisper to them on the side, by the way, if you get tired and need a little extra rest, just tell me you need a drink of water. It's called a strategic water break. And even if you just pretend to drink it, if it gives you extra break, that's okay. Because when we're lifting weights, we get cardio from it, but we're not working on that. But you asked me about my routine.
Yes, please.
I spend
How long
now,
are your workouts?
I come in the gym and I spend about 20 minutes at the beginning stretching and rolling and working on my chronic issues. Great news is because I do that every single day I'm here, they're not chronic issues anymore. But if, like yesterday, I don't stretch and roll, I'm working in kitchen, cooking for 45 minutes, doing prep work and cooking. All of a sudden, boom, my upper back and neck hurts again. And I realized, I should probably stretch even on days I don't work out. But so 20 minutes working out and stretching. And with my clients, I give them a warm-up routine, and I suggest to them, you should come in earlier and get that done before I get here, so that you get the full hour benefit from me, because you don't need me to show you how to warm up.
Yes.
Then I'll spend about 90 minutes doing resistance training, and then I'll do a cool down. So the whole thing, it's under 2 hours. I'm retired, except for the training practice, so I'm able to do that. When I didn't have the time, it would be about 75 minutes to warm up, and then the 60 minutes. So I do that 2 days. Third day is always cardio. Because running's not great at my age anymore, I instead use the treadmill and the inclines and a weighted vest to give me the zone 2 regimen I want. And then I repeat those 3 days, and on Sundays I play soccer.
Interesting.
And when I play soccer,
with friends, you have a group of friends that
they're friends now. It's an international group. We have a third from south of the border in South America. We have a third from Europe, and we have a third native born American.
That's amazing.
And I've learned how to swear in many languages.
Vaffanculo, vaffanculo. That means F off in Italian. That's how you say hello in Italy. Now, let me tell you a quote from Tony Robbins. You know Tony Robbins, the inspirational coach? He says, the strongest force that drives the human personality is the need to remain consistent or coherent with the way you identify yourself. So now, for example, I've heard that people that want to quit smoking, for example, they are, for as long as they can try, until they shift their identities to a non-smoker, they're going to still think of themselves as smokers who are trying to quit, right? So for them, losing the habit is very hard. Now, for an athlete, let's say a marathoner or somebody who is in the gym every day, right? You skip one day at the gym, and then if you don't go one day, you sense a little bit of loss of identity. Is that the case for you?
Absolutely, and that's one of the four frameworks of the Atomic Habits, is to reframe how you think of yourself. To, in other words, instead of saying, I am deconditioned and I'm going to get better, you say, I'm an athlete who is working to reach their peak. I'm not trying to quit smoking, I am a non-smoker. I'm a healthy eater. All those things, and I think the Gen X, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they're really good. When I look at my daughter's phone, her folders on her phone don't say things like finance things. It says, I'm financially reliable, or whatever. She has affirmations on every one of her folders on her phone.
That's amazing. When I taught movement therapy, I was researching a little bit about the neurochemistry and the brain chemistry and how it's important to label things properly, because words are kind of like signposts for the brain to point us into the direction of a concept or a thing. And the way that we interpret the message is what's important. So if you label yourself as a healthy eater and an athlete, somebody who is coming to the gym is part of their daily routine, then there is very little effort involved into performing. You just go in with the flow, it becomes a second nature, right? And that leads me to the next question. So how do you, I mean, I can tell you are self-motivated, you're good, you are, fiercely independent, but how do you help clients stay motivated long term?
So, it's important as a trainer to always understand where your clients are that day.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling? How are you sleeping well? Talk about what they're eating, and what you hear over time is that the change is very gradual initially. Then it starts to get faster, and then it plateaus, and then maybe you work harder and you start back up further. It is important to help people recognize small changes and celebrate things like, oh my gosh, I've dropped a link on my belt. I got one whole timer.
Yes.
We at FlexTime have a relationship with Supplement Superstore over in the town center off of Eager Road, where Target is, and or actually the Deerbergs is. And they have a in-body scale, and the in-body scale measures your fat composition and your muscle composition, which is more important than your weight, because what can happen is you're training, is you're putting on weight, even if you're putting on muscle, even as you're dropping fat, you may weigh the same or even more. But this allows
muscle weighs more than fat, right?
Yes. So when you go into and weigh yourself on this in-body scale, every other month, every quarter, whatever it is, all of a sudden you start to see improvement, and that's exciting because that's the hardest thing. We love instant gratification. Yes. I got weeds between the retaining wall, and my driveway, and it's hard to pluck them out. So I went out and I bought one of these protein torches. It's like a flamethrower, and I get to walk up and down and just knock them out. In 15 minutes, I come back in, my wife says, you must really be happy because you got to see the benefit of what you did.
Yes.
You don't see that in training after each performance. So it's really important to help people tease out, I am sleeping a little better. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night. I wake up with more energy. And that's the way to keep people coming in.
Do you have personal rituals or some personal ways to raise your self-esteem? I'll tell you my example. For example, when I wake up in the morning, it gives me a good little sense of pride to make my own bed, to clean out my kitchen, to have the kitchen space clean, to take out the trash, to shower, to shampoo, to shave, to have a consistent morning routine and a little meditation, a little yoga. So do you have a morning ritual or morning routine?
The one you mentioned, make the bed. The head of the Marines about 10 years ago.
Yes, I saw that.
He said the reason we teach our recruits to make their bed properly first thing in the morning is so that they start the day with an achievement.
Correct.
So they've achieved something before most people have even gotten up and had breakfast.
Right.
And so, and you talk about shaving, getting ready for, I noticed running companies over the years that as much as we have changed our dress code in the workplace, there still is dressing for success. Dress for the job you're going to do.
This is great information.
And when you come in sweat clothes, you feel more relaxed, it's more comfortable, but you aren't, for most people, they're not as driven. Some people can be driven to work out of their pajamas and they look just great. But yet everybody needs to have those. I don't know that I have any special things, but I do know that coming into the gym gives me energy for the whole day.
Good.
And it lasts till about 9:30.
Wonderful. And as far as making the bed in the morning, there's also a secondary benefit to it in my experience, and that is no matter whether your day went fantastic, you achieved a lot, or you experienced the shittiest day of all, you still come home to a clean bed that you made.
That's right.
So that is always a good way to reframe as to the reason why we do things and we don't do things. So next question is, how has joining the FlexTime Fitness community impacted your work?
Well, so, as we pointed out in the very beginning, I have a business career. I spent decades running companies from either the C-suite or from the board level. And that's got nothing to do with training. what's been so great about FlexTime is that there are so many experienced trainers, and that we trade ideas, and I see them doing things, and I continue to learn. And of course, you know, my belief is that we learn every day until we die.
Sure.
And maybe we learn a little bit after we die. I mean, that's yet to be determined. But FlexTime is a great community. It's not competitive. Everybody is so supportive. We have two disciplines: your discipline, as well as the discipline of the trainers.
Big shout out to Dr. Deb Haston, the owner of FlexTime Fitness, who's kindly offering us this launching pad to support our own businesses independently. So, have you collaborated in your time as a trainer with massage therapists or other wellness providers?
Yeah, so particularly when people start off training, there's going to be some soreness.
Yes.
And you could probably explain this in much more detail than I, but
Yes.
in our bodies, there's the fascia layer that covers the outside of all of our muscles. And when we get stiff, it can be the fascia with this tightening.
Oh, you say fascia. Okay, we call it fascia, but it's okay.
Okay.
Or connective tissues.
Connective tissues.
Yes.
And of course, when we tense our muscles, when we feel knots in them, it's because they've been working hard that they may not be used to.
Yes.
And so I think both yoga and massage therapies are things that beginners should do.
Right. My special practice, my practice Yogaphora, involves not just the merely looking at the physical level, which for me is the lowest level that you can essentially scan a person's body, but we tend to see the tension that exists within our bodies as bottled up emotional tension, because we tend to store and bottle up our stress in our tissues, specifically the hips. Any yoga instructors that are trained, they will tell you one thing, and that all the emotions go to die in the hips. We have the, are you familiar with the hip flexors, the iliopsoas muscle?
Do those every day.
Yes, some people call it the muscle of the soul. And when we are in a constant state of stress, cortisol levels super high, and we are constantly in fight or flight, not because we have a tiger that is chasing us, because the marketplace is just placing us so many demands on us. We have deadlines, we have so many inputs that are threatening to us, the traffic, the weather, the politics, whatever it may be. That muscle tends to want to let you curl into a ball, as if you're in protective mode, in a child's position, right? And so I see a lot in my practice, people having lower back pain, not because of the back muscles are tense, or they have tension in the lower back or connective tissue restrictions, but because it is the psoas muscle that is very tight. So it's actually the front body that is affected. So
Dr. Shakira, I think, said it best when she said, "Hips don't lie."
Hips don't lie. Yes, that's a great quote. I love it. Love it. So, can you help me define health span versus lifespan?
Yeah. So, our medicine is really remarkable, and it's really been the last century and a half when we realized what bacteria was. I mean, that was Semmelweis, the Austrian doctor that figured out that doctors washing their hands allowed people to live and survive operations. To today, when Eisenhower in the 50s got a heart attack, he was prescribed bed rest for a month, which today, when you have a heart attack, they want you out of bed, walking up and down the hospital floor as soon as possible.
Yes.
And so medicine's done really well to help us live longer. The challenge is how we spend that extra decade we get.
Exactly. Quality of life.
And we all have relatives who didn't stay active, and they spend their last decade sitting in a chair, maybe watching a TV, maybe napping with the TV on. They spend the decade with their mobility and flexibility gone. So it's a sad decade, or it's not as happy as it could be. Or we can have a golden decade, a bonus decade, where we get that decade that medicine gave us, but because we have the health span to go along with it, that they're matched up, we can live the life we love to live with the people we love. And that's what really healthspan is, making sure that we can have the health to do the things we want as we take advantage of that extra time that medicine gives us to live.
Great. Yeah, because I noticed that, once we hit the biological maturity, hence when we just pass the reproductive age, that tends to be, maybe 35, 40, 45 tops for women.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have we can essentially give life even in our late 60s or 70s, but it seems like the nature has set a pace and we outgrew that age or that lifespan. Now the lifespan is prone to, you can grow older into your 70 or 80 years old, but the average lifespan up until the last century, people would die at 50, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And exercise, particularly resistance exercises, folk can help us. I said it's the best drug for living well.
Yes.
There are studies, well-documented studies that connect exercise to reducing metabolic disease, reducing cardiovascular disease, reducing neurodegenerative diseases. It's if you love yourself, you're going to do something.
Yes.
And the best exercise is the one that you'll do. So the key thing is for people to figure out what works for them, because something is better than nothing.
Yes.
And the best way to do that is go find ideas from people who have learned this.
Yes.
Whether it's written in a book they've published, or from a trainer or a masseur in a gym, but learn what you need to be healthier.
Nice. Yes, thank you very much. That's great, valuable advice. So let's switch gears now, going toward your career in business, your valuation and leadership experience. So what makes a business truly valuable beyond its numbers?
Well, that's a complicated question.
Yes.
What you're looking for is what does a business do that's no business is truly unique. But what is the business doing that is hard to compete with, that they can have a fort around what they do to preserve, like Microsoft. Who wouldn't want to die and come back as Microsoft? They make money hand over fist. At the heart of that, inevitably, is always people.
Right.
And so the most important thing is there a culture where people are not just coming in and giving you their hands to work with, but they're also bringing their minds and their commitment. And so what I look for is culture.
Nice. So would you say that people want to be valued more as individual souls than just numbers on a spreadsheet, right?
Absolutely. The most important thing people say they want in a manager is someone who helps them get things done.
Yes.
None of us need to be told what to do for the most part.
Yeah.
We may need help with priorities and strategic plans and a tactical plan on more complicated issues, but for most part, leaders are supposed to help people be successful.
Correct.
And if leaders help a lot of people be successful, the company is going to be successful.
That's great. I heard once that successful leaders, train other people to become even better leaders.
Yeah. When I look back at my career, and I didn't realize this right away because I had to mature as a leader, but today what gives me the most joy is to go back and count the number of people who took on running corporations, starting their own businesses, and had that success. And it's just a real joy because none of us is born to do that. I wasn't born to do that. My father was a college professor. Everyone in my family went into academia except me. I'm the black sheep. But I learned over time from other people.
Yeah, I believe that at the core of every human spirit, there is the need for freedom, right? Nobody really enjoys being micromanaged.
Right.
And so we want our own unique expression. As Tony Robbins put it, we have the 6 human needs, right? The loving connection, certainty and uncertainty. And then we have which are the needs of the ego, and then we have the needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution. If you're not growing, you're not contributing beyond yourself alone, it feels like you're dying or you're experiencing this slow death.
And as a leader, the saddest thing is when I would come across people in the organization that were basically saying, hey, I just want to come here and do my job and go home. I get my joy from my family and my hobbies, and I feel sad because I believe, well, when you meet someone, they are a product of their history.
Yes.
And when I meet someone who can't get a joy out of where they spend so much of their time, it makes me sad. I want to help.
Of course, that's great. Beautiful heart. So, what are some common mistakes entrepreneurs make in early stages?
So, businesses have life cycles, just like people do. And the first stage is the entrepreneurial stage.
Yes.
Somebody has an idea for a business. And
I raise my hand.
Yeah, and not only do they have an idea for a business, they're willing to work so hard that essentially they're working for below minimum wage because the hours don't match the pay.
Correct.
But they also learn, because they're driven, that if they want something done, they want it done right, they need to do it themselves.
Yep.
And so we see entrepreneurs as drivers.
Because they're hungry.
They're hungry.
For the person they want to become.
Yeah. The challenge is that at the second phase of a business, all those things the entrepreneur needs, that control, now becomes a bottleneck. No, so think of the entrepreneur driving the car, and the car is filled with employees, and they hit a bump in the road. Is it the entrepreneur's nature to stop and say, we need another driver? Or is their nature to grip the wheel harder and press down the pedal more?
Right.
In a business, they want to rotate drivers. And you want to get more people involved.
Okay.
It's the hardest thing, because everything that made the entrepreneur successful is being controlling.
Gotcha.
And everything that will get them to the next level is finding the right people and letting go.
Gotcha. So essentially, in a nutshell, you're saying that leadership should be less ego-based or ego-driven, and learn the ability to delegate when it's time, when it's needed, right?
Yeah.
Lose the need for control, let go of the need for control.
And delegation is a tough thing. True delegation is tough to learn.
Yeah, because you have to trust. I have such a bond between yourself and somebody that's beyond yourself.
And what we looked for when we acquired companies was we looked for entrepreneurial companies in the entrepreneurial stage that were stuck. They were typically really good managers, but they weren't empowered because the leader, the entrepreneur, had to keep control.
Yes.
And if we found a company like that, we monetized the work of the entrepreneur so they could retire with their nest egg, and then we turned the business over to the managers who were frustrated. And that wasn't as easy as it sounds, because we would say all that, and they say, great, that's what we want, but then they're constantly looking for direction. And we're saying, no, we don't know. You're the ones who are in the field. You're the ones that see the problem.
Yes.
You tell us what you need to do. You tell us what you need help doing. And it takes time to help change that culture.
Interesting. Well, this is so great. I'm so glad we're touching base on this particular topic. So, what drew you to litigation support? Tell me about litigation. How do you see litigation and conflict? Who loves conflict?
So, I didn't search this out. I have people I know, friends that are lawyers, and one of them had a problem. It was a company that the founder had died and left the company 50-50 to his two kids. And one of the kids was running the business and growing the business, and the other one was cashing dividend checks. And they inevitably got into a conflict. And because they were 50-50, they were stuck. They couldn't move forward. And so they essentially had a legal battle over the value of the company so that they could both go their own ways. The one who was running the company could take it to where he or she wanted to go, and their sibling could get paid and walk away. And that was the role I was brought in to help do the valuation.
I see.
And so from that, I've taken on other cases. There's only one thing. I have to believe in the client.
Yes.
I know lawyers defend bad people and good people.
Of course.
I refuse to have anything to do with someone bad. Whatever skills I have, I don't want them to be deployed for evil. I want to help people who I feel are being taken advantage of by a more powerful employer
Yes.
or business relationship, and help them get what's due them.
Good, awesome. Well, as you know, the court environment is adversarial by nature, right? It's black and white, and whoever the attorneys are good storytellers, right? They're the ones that craft a very good narrative to sell to the judge, and that's how they win their case, even though their client is wrong, right, or has done something wrong.
Right, and I'm searching for what the truth is and what's fair.
Yes, beautiful, beautifully said. That's why, I've done some interpreting work for the courts, but I do not like it. Because I can see through my own heart when something is right or wrong. I ask my heart, yes, is that good or is it not good? Is it yes or not yes? Do I move toward or do I move away from that thing? So I find in my best nature is to work in a medical field where you are on the side of the patient, you're on the side of your client, you're advocating for people's goodness and life enhancement. So how do you build trust with a management team you're investing in?
So, and I have, I could have a book of cliches that I've developed, learned, and used. And one of them is that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them proportionally. And I ask questions when I'm learning about a business, and then I listen, and I listen, and I listen, and I follow up and ask more questions. And I think one of the operations VP at a company we ran said to me after about 18 months of working together, he says, John, over the 18 months we worked together, you've asked some really stupid questions. And I smiled and said, yeah, I love those. He says, but you've never ever insisted that we do something that we didn't believe in. And even the dumb questions have caused me to think about the problem in a different way. They helped me to come up with a new solution.
Yes.
And I think the point of it is not imposing your will. Like, for instance, if we were in a boardroom and there's 8 managers speaking,
Right.
I don't need to get out there and pound the table. I'm the boss. I can talk at the end.
Right.
And I can say about my concerns and what I'm hearing. But if I sit back and let the people at the table work on 80 to 90% of the solution, then at the end I can come and say, this is a really good solution. If I could make one suggestion, I would add this. And then it's their solution. And they always had it on the inside. I
heard once that leaders eat last, right? Have you heard that?
Parents certainly do.
Yeah.
I see it, my daughter, she has a 1-year-old. And when we sit down and if we're all eating at the same time as the 1-year-old and the 3-year-old, my daughter is standing up feeding the 1-year-old while all the rest of us are eating. So moms eat last too.
Eat last, yes. So true, beautiful. So what does sustainable business growth mean to you? How do you make it businesses, especially in a day and age where we're globally interconnected, everything is available at a click of a fingertip, right? Yeah, enormous competition. You don't even have to go to the store to purchase something you like on Amazon. We live in an unprecedented era. So what's sustainability for you these days?
So Ozzie Smith, who was a star shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals in the 80s and 90s, when he was inducted in the Hall of Fame, he gave a speech that basically, and I saw him and asked him one time, could you tell me what that line was? Because I knew there was a mantra for him. But nothing is good enough if it can be made better. And if it's not the best until it is, something along that lines. So it's kind of a concept of continuous improvement.
Right.
And in a business world, what that means is, on the sales and marketing side, all customers go away. So you need to be constantly working on having a robust pipeline of new customers.
Right.
In the operations side, everyone's working to improve the process. Your competitors are. So you have to be working on that too. And so that's really, and in the physical side,
right,
our muscles are completely different today than they were a year ago. Because our body is in a constant process, not just the muscles, but the bones too, of breaking down, getting rid of the garbage, and rebuilding with our mitochondria, driving it, new muscles, more bone mass. And so that's the same metaphor for a business. You have to constantly be tearing down and rebuilding stronger. And lifting weights calls for our muscles to be stronger, and therefore when they build back, they build back stronger. Companies can do that too.
Interesting. That brings my thought to the working out, right? So working with the fundamentals versus to the optimization of all these crazy new techniques out there. So do you believe more in the fundamentals? Fundamentals in sports, fundamentals in baseball, in soccer, learning the fundamentals that are been there so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and rather than constantly work on self-optimization and the latest trend.
So functional exercise, my definition of it, means that what you're doing in the gym relates to a similar movement in real life. So a deadlift, I mentioned, is picking up a baby's deadlift. The 40-pound bag of dog food that came in from Chewy or Amazon is a deadlift. At a very young age, they taught us to lift from their back. Lift with our legs, not with our back. And so that's what a deadlift teaches you. And so, I think all of that's the same. You want to look at everything, doing an overhead lift, a shoulder press, is when we're putting stuff like our bag, our carry-on bag we got in the airplane, it's an overhead shoulder press to put it in the overhead bin. You want to be able to do that because you want to be able to travel. And so for me, I guess that's basic, fundamentals.
Fundamentals, yes.
But sometimes for fun, it is fun to make up some new crazy, using a barbell and rubber bands and doing all sorts of things. But that's only for fun and show.
So in the marketplace, we get paid in relationship to the value that we add to one another. That's how you got paid last time, right? So in this day and era of global interconnectivity where people are communicating more digitally than in person, right? There's less eye-to-eye contact and more eye-to-phone contact. You can, if you're in dating, you can swipe people left and right. There's no more human contact. In my practice, which is hands-on by definition, I work on touch, nurturing touch, therapeutic touch. And so I really believe in the power of sticking to the fundamental human need of connection, right? And I see instead in the marketplace, wherever you go now, everything is digital. Even in the advent of the pandemic, right? Now when people were isolated at home, we invented QR codes. We invented, no touch screens or something that is essentially outside of the what we perceive as a fundamental, that is human contact, right? So in the sphere of business, how do you think that being more human plays a big role?
So one thing we learned from COVID, when our children went home and studied remotely for a year, we had a nationwide test of all ages, of both genders, all genders, of different races, different religions, and one thing was universal. Nobody learned as well remotely as they did in the classroom.
Right.
And the reason is there are four ways people learn. They can read, they can hear, they can do, and now I'm forgetting the fourth one. There's a fourth one.
Okay.
But the point is, the digital stuff isn't enough. Sometimes you can watch someone do it.
Oh,
that's the fourth one. And so for whether you're learning in the gym or you're learning in a business, you need to have that interconnection.
Yeah.
The other piece is, in a business, there's a synergy of a group of people getting together and talking about a problem.
Yes.
There's a joke about the Israeli Knesset, their legislative body, that there's made up of, 80 members, but they always have at least 160 opinions. Well, that's not true about the Israelis. You and I can sit down, and that's when we brainstorm. And we put some fun. Try brainstorming by yourself. You can do it. You can get some ideas. It's not as good as people. So when it's problem solving, a challenging problem, groups of people do it better.
Interesting.
When it's learning, it's done better in person.
So when you were at work, you were organizing team meetings, you were getting together and brainstorming together?
It was, yes, inevitably we did have to have meetings, and people hated them, And the goal was to keep them as focused and direct as possible. And I was the worst person because I would take us down rabbit holes all the time. But what's more important is to create an environment where people can come together accidentally. So for me, when I travel to one of our businesses, I only schedule about half my trip. So I'd be there for 3 days or 4 days. And the mornings might be the meeting time. The other half of the time, I'm just sitting in the conference room by myself on my computer, doing other work I need to do with the door open. And people would fall in and say, hey, John, do you have a minute?
Yeah.
And I always had a minute. And that's what good leaders do, is they create the opportunity, not just for people to see them, but for people to run into each other all the time.
Yes.
The water cooler, so important. I mean, it doesn't exist anymore, but maybe we meet at we bump into each other at the copy machine or print something up off the printer. The important is to help people have that. So when you walk into an office where, and engineers will be like this, when I work with Lucent, I'd be at their offices, every single door is closed. All the engineers behind closed doors.
Because they don't want to be bothered.
Well, they're engineers. They're very focused.
Laser focused. They're in their bubbles.
But so you need to create a situation where engineers talk to each other. And what Lucent did was they made it easy to do that in cafeterias. Go down and get a cup of coffee, go to lunch, and that's what would help them create that interaction.
That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. So, travel and personal life. You've visited over 20 countries. What's a country that left a deep impression on you?
You know, it's probably because I worked there for so long. And by working, I would maybe spend maybe 4 weeks a year in the Czech Republic in Prague. And I started working there after the wall fell down.
Oh, wow.
And when I got there, every shop, so many closed retail stores with the chain link fence or the metal things that were all graffitied up, and the buildings were kind of run down. And it was.
We're talking about 1986, something like that?
No, the wall came down. The revolution, I think, of theirs was 92.
Oh, 92, yes.
91.
Yes.
And I would go there 4 times a year for at least a week, sometimes 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks. And every time I came there, I go, oh, look, someone's redoing that building. Look what they've done with this graffiti on it. And oh, a new restaurant opened there. And to me, it felt like what Paris must have felt like in 1946. That you know, for let's see, for 50 years, the Czechs had been behind the iron wall, the Iron Curtain, and the spirit of the people was undiminished. You know, the people I worked with were funny, creative. The general manager at the company, his wife was an opera singer, and they all had ideas. Now, the clothes were dated in the beginning, but gradually over time, they came into the world and they embraced it. And it was such a beautiful thing to see. And it's a different experience than I have with most times I visited on vacation, where I drop into a country for 2 or 3 weeks and then I come back for 6 or 7 years. So that's, I have a special spot in my heart.
That's cool.
For the Czech and Slovak.
Any intercultural differences that
I cannot speak the language. They don't have vowels or something.
Do you prefer adventure travel, cultural immersion, or relaxation?
Oh gosh, my wife and I were perfectly matched in the way we travel.
Good.
Our preference is we like to learn about where we're going before we go.
Yes.
But we don't like to have an itinerary.
So you're planners, but then once you get there,
it's like, let's walk out the door and turn right and see what we stumble across. And sometimes my wife will say, can we find a prettier street or a more interesting street? And I go, I don't really know, I'm not from here.
Cool.
But the idea is just kind of
living in the moment.
Yeah.
Well, let's
go to the Orsay Museum and let's walk this way and come back this way. And along the way, we found this beautiful glass Eiffel Tower to hold our vinegar, our balsamic vinegar.
Wow.
And you know, it sat on the counter until it got broken. But you know, we like to stumble on things. We frequently buy art when we travel.
Nice.
Not every trip. We don't go on a trip buying for art, but we'll stumble into art museums that we didn't expect along the way and be, you know, overwhelmed with something we see.
Yeah, we have a lot of art in Italy too.
I've noticed that.
We're known for the culinary arts. And of course, fashion.
And we have some things we bought in from Florence.
Firenze.
Yeah.
What a great place. If there's one place I would retire in, it would be the Tuscany region.
They did it.
Toscana.
There was an exhibit at the Florence Museum where they asked current artists to do something inspired from Picasso.
Uh-huh.
And there was a Picasso museum, and they brought these together, and we found in a gallery, it was a sculpture about this tall.
Mm-hmm.
There's a girl with the blue pail, which is the famous Picasso painting, and the artist had re-envisioned it.
No, what, sorry about that. What's the name of the actual,
I think it's a girl with a blue can.
Okay.
Is the Picasso
Okay.
But
I have to look it up.
the ceramicist re-envisioned it as a three-dimensional object. So it's still Picasso with the eyes on, two eyes on one side of the nose, and it's got a blue pail and it's a girl. But it's like that painting came to life and now sits in our living room.
Cool, that's so cool. So let's see,
And it was not expensive.
Uh-huh.
So it was something totally reasonable.
Wonderful, good to know. So any country you'd love to move to, even temporarily, especially with the craziness happening in the US these days?
So the two places that my wife and I talk about wanting to go and spend time would either be Tuscany or Provence.
Okay.
And we like both of those because they're kind of centralized, and there would be good bases to go sit in your house in Tuscany and then get on the road and go over to Croatia.
Okay.
And see the other side of the Adriatic.
Absolutely.
Or take a train and go to Berlin.
Yeah.
And the food is so good.
Oh yeah.
Food is
Talking
really
about
good.
Tuscany.
I love Germany. I love England. But there's a reason why we eat at French and Italian restaurants.
Yes, I agree. And I worked for a year and a half in one of the most beautiful resorts in Tuscany, in Bagni Vignoni at the Adler Terme. So on my time off, I would explore all the beautiful countryside of Tuscany, which was absolutely
We got in the car.
jaw-dropping.
We were in Siena.
Yes.
And we got in the car and we went for a drive and we went up Montepulciano.
Montepulciano, yes.
It's a hill town.
Yes.
We drove all the way to the top. So cute. And we started wandering, and there was a little shop that made stuff out of copper, both for roofing and gutters. But when they saw my two little girls, who were like 8 and 10, he took a little square piece and made the sun out of it.
Oh wow!
And gave it to it. He wouldn't take any money. And it's that's an experience that they remember forever. I don't know if they still have their little copper suns. I bet they do.
I haven't seen them. But I know there is a lot of osterias. The osteria is a place where you can stop by and get a glass. You can help yourself and get a glass of wine out of the barrel and bring it outside, or you can get an appetizer like a slice of pecorino cheese with some milk, with some honey and nuts, walnuts. So good.
It's the small towns in Italy and France that are just so charming.
Yes.
And the big cities are, Rome is the eternal city.
Now let's move to education and personal growth, as we're kind of running out of time. So I want to kind of take it home here to some more, because I love personal growth. I'm an avid reader of personal growth myself. In the morning, my morning routine includes listening to podcasts, especially from the great late Jim Rohn, which was the grandfather of personal development, and also the mentors of Tony Robbins. So what drew you to study organizational development?
Yeah, so I was in college, I finished college in 1977.
Okay.
So that was before.
When I was born. I was born in 1978.
So that was before the PC, the personal computer, was invented. That was before Michael Porter, who was a Harvard business theorist on strategy and stuff. That was before he had started writing. And so I realized in 1990, about 12 years out of college, that I should probably go back to school and get some more tools for my toolbox. So I initially thought about an MBA. But I realized that the MBA program is really designed for people who have been siloed in a single part of the organization, and it teaches them the rest of the organization so they can go into general management. I had nearly always been in general management at that point, and so I needed a specialty. And I thought about, well, 5 finance, I've always worked with good CFOs, so what do I add by having more finance knowledge? And I went through the list, and what I came up with was, what I don't really understand is how do businesses optimize themselves? How do different structures affect how businesses work together? How do you work with inter-organizational groups? And that was really the whole basis of organizational development, which is based on industrial psychology, what motivates people, how to encourage performance and stuff. And I said, that's something we'll never be able to afford in our business if someone really knows that. So I'd like to learn that, so I can bring that skill and that point of view to the company.
Interesting. Let me ask you, out of this scripted question here, so the value of an MBA or a university degrees these days, when as you know, with the internet, since when Bill Gates came up with Windows 95, now information is freely and widely available online. You don't even have to pay for it. You have AI, you have the entire access to encyclopedias. Do you think there is value these days of signing up for highly costly, expensive universities, getting into the student debt, getting a loan, and getting a degree these days when you can have the entire world available at a click of a fingertip?
So there was a movie, probably in the 70s, definitely in the 70s, called The Paper Chase. The movie is about first-year law students at Harvard and their whole experience. And what the professor they were all scared of. The first thing he said at the beginning of the class, he says something to the effect of, you are here to learn, you may think you are here to learn the law, but I will not teach you the law. Instead, I will teach you how to think. And that's where I think the value of secondary education is, and beyond.
How to think.
Is that, yes, I don't need to remember Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. The rhyme they taught us in grade school so we could remember that. You don't need to memorize facts anymore, because
you just look it up.
You just look it up.
Google.
Yeah, I mean, I can't go to dinner where somebody doesn't pull out the phone to look up a question that we're talking about.
Exactly.
And we have the information. Instead, what it is, and it's what organizational development was for me, was it's not to understand why is this person not succeeding in our organization, but how to understand why it is. And there's not a place to write to check why is Joe Smith not succeeding. You have to figure that out for yourself. And part of it is observations, gathering information, internalizing information, and coming up with an idea, and then responding when that idea works or doesn't work. And that's what. So I think that sometimes people take the wrong approach to what they're getting out of college. Now, clearly, pre-med, engineering, these are highly technical skills that require learning knowledge, a body of knowledge. But the liberal arts degree is really more about being exposed to so much more and learning how to think. Learning how to learn.
Jim Rohn said, traditional education will give you a living, but non-traditional education will give you a fortune. If you know how to embrace entrepreneurship at the right level and with a love-based mentality, chances are you're going to have a good, successful life. So, what books or thinkers have most influenced your career?
Well, the writer I'm reading now is Daniel Kahneman. He is he earned got a Nobel Prize for rethinking how economics works. So the traditional thinking for over 2 decades was Adam Smith's rational man theory. That as rational people, we look at the options and we do the analysis and we choose the most rational approach and we take that. And that seems to make sense. Who would choose to be irrational? But what they found was that we don't act rationally. And the reason we don't act rationally is that we have really 2 brains. We have the fast-thinking brain. You're driving in your car, the light turns to yellow. I mean, think about what would happen if you had to stop, if you had to think for a long time about what action you take. No, your mind looks at the light, looks at how far you are from the intersection, and you decide, I'm going to stop or I'm going to go through, right? No thought involved. That's why sometimes when we're driving, we turn and head to work. We didn't mean to, because The slow mind is the one that does the analysis. And the problem we humans have is we let our fast mind make decisions because it's easier. It's easier when you go to the store and decide what you want to buy. You buy the same thing you always buy than if you stop and think about it.
Yep.
So we default to fast thinking when sometimes we need to be slow thinking. And he gave, I'll give you just one example of that. Early in his career, he was working with the Air Force of the country. And the trainers came in, they said, we have this problem. What we find is when pilots have a really good day in training, and we tell them what a great job they do, the next day they do worse. But we also find that when we yell at them when they have a bad day, the next day they do better. So it tells us we should never be supportive, we should always be yelling at the pilots. Makes sense. That's the fast brain thinking. What they showed the trainers is that the change in performance is the normal change in performance that you're going to have all the time. Nobody performs like this. And that their yelling or giving encouragement really didn't have a short-term difference because the performance is going to vary. And so they help them come up with better plans.
Okay. What's the name of the author again?
Daniel Kahneman, his first book is Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow. And now I'm reading another book called Noise, which is about the noise that surrounds the data that we see.
Okay. So what advice would
Wish I had read it when I was 20.
This is a good one. This is a good question. I always love to ask this question. What advice would you give to yourself, to your 30-year-old self? If you could go back 40 years. Almost.
To be training.
Be training.
Because I neglected myself. And, I had a gym in my home.
You didn't
use it. Didn't use it.
It was just like...
There's a whole lot of issues with why people don't use the gyms in their home. Or frequently don't use them. But I knew it was important, but I always had excuses. I always deferred starting it. And I think that's probably the thing I wish more than anything else I had done. God knows I've made lots of mistakes in areas, but you learn more from your mistakes than from your successes. Your successes actually can make you cocky and arrogant that's not deserved.
Jim Rohn summed it up beautifully. Take care of your body. It is the only place you have to live. And my age of 46, almost 47, I tell my yoga students that when you are on the yoga mat and you show up consistently in a disciplined way, that 1 hour or whatever it may be, 75 minutes, you're expressing self-love. You're loving yourself. In that 1 hour, you zone out from the busyness of the outer world. And in that hour, nobody can ever love you more than you love yourself, right? So, so you mentioned when you were 30, you were prioritizing other areas. Obviously, you were not working out, but you were deep into your career. Building family, buying house, the typical ladder, the American dream.
That's right.
Bring us to one to go for, right? Interesting. And what have you learned from failure?
Well, every failure teaches you something different. Maybe it's just, next time I'm in this situation, I know the 3 questions I should ask to prevent me from having this problem again. Most important though, is to be humble.
Yes.
Because I guess one of my cliches is never believe your own PR. You're not
personal record.
No, public relations.
Oh, okay.
No matter how well
PR is a personal record.
Yeah, no. I was running a business in the home video cassettes, and the business just took off. I mean, literally, we went from a $2 million business in 1980 to 10 years later is a $250 million business. And there was a point in time that I thought I was responsible.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't responsible.
You were not responsible.
I had some role in it, but the big impact was home video was something that Americans really wanted. People wanted to rent films, so more and more stores popped up. There was a store in every corner, and they all bought from companies like mine.
Right.
Now, there are a lot of competitors that did succeed, so I had a role, and more importantly, the management team and all the employees had the biggest role. But there was a point in time where I thought I was pretty hot stuff. And I look back and say, no. I was much more impressed with myself with how I dealt with adversity and how I helped people get through adversity.
Good.
Because we all hit a bad spot in our lives.
Of course.
It's not a straight line from getting out of college to retiring comfortably.
There is no straight line in nature. Every straight line is man-made, right? Nature is non-linear. The life itself is non-linear by definition.
Yes.
But yeah, to go back, health is our most important asset. Health is our first wealth, as they say. You know, if you lose your health, it doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you have in the bank, right?
If you can't leave the house, if you can't fly.
Yes. I tell
your life, the world gets smaller and smaller.
You know what I tell my yoga students to express gratitude and to raise their frequency on the basis of gratitude. I say, you would much rather be on a yoga mat today because there are 3 places that you definitely don't want to be. And one is the hospital, hospitalized for whatever you are hospitalized for. Prison or jail, so do not get in trouble, stay out of trouble. And 3, the courthouse, which is an adversarial environment full of stress. So it's better to choose a healthy, positive environment, either a gym. So it's just about placing the body, because the body is a 24/7 adaptation machine. It responds directly to the stimulus that you give to it, right? If you put it into McDonald's for 30 days, it will adapt. If you put it into a gym, it will adapt accordingly. So we are adaptation-based machines. So how do you personally define wellness?
Wellness is about being able to do the things you want to do with ease. If you have a cold, you can't do things with ease. You're struggling with that.
Yes.
If you have a bad knee, all those things are obstacles. So, you know, wellness means we can move through our day with ease and not have to focus on what hurts at that point in time.
Are there some of your, you know, back in the 80s, we had a lot of people in the industry that became the mentors. Think of Jack LaLanne or Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of the Mr. Olympias and all the fitness icons of the 80s from California, right? So now they're either they're dead or they are in their late 80s or something.
Arnold still looks pretty good.
Arnold still looks great, although I've seen pictures of him
He's
going
much
up
smaller. Much smaller.
So now that you are 69, right, you're experiencing some of the obviously the effects of aging, right? You mentioned you cannot sleep well at night sometimes. You have to get up and go to the bathroom naturally. So how do you deal with those challenges at this age? But because you look fantastic, obviously you can model, you can get modeled for.
So I tell people that I feel like my life has become a analysis of what correlates or what causes, right? And so, okay, I didn't sleep well last night. What was it? Was it something I ate, something I drank? Which, you can start lining up all the things that went on at the same time. That's correlative. 2 things happen, but they're not related. But you want to analyze what is causing something. And I never get it right. I'm a lab experiment trying to figure out what makes, you mentioned sleep.
Yes.
When I have a night where I sleep for 6 or 7 hours straight, it's like, oh my God, what did I do yesterday to allow that to happen? Well, it may not be anything I did, but what else am I going to do? I have to try to figure out what I can change or do again, because if it's all random, then why am I here?
Interesting. I was going to ask you, I haven't asked you, were you born and raised in St. Louis?
No.
No, where were you born?
I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, but I've been here since I was 6, so virtually I was certainly raised here.
Okay. So since when I moved here, I noticed immediately a little bit of the different pockets, religions and communities. Everybody says, oh, St. Louis is cliquey. It tends to not be so welcoming to outsiders and all of that. But I've also noticed that there is the religion is a strong component of most communities. For example, Italians have the St. Ambrose Church, and then they have the Muslim communities, and Catholicism is very prevalent here in general. So as in your personal experience as a man, as a fitness trainer, or as a business manager, have you, as religion or spirituality, have had a footprint, like something strong?
So the three major Western religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.
Yes.
The books were all written by illiterate people.
Yes.
I mean, it's several centuries and centuries ago,
Correct.
millennia.
Yes. In fact, the providers of truth were the priests of the village. They were the only educated people
Right.
that could provide stuff and read the books, right?
And they didn't know about gravity. They didn't know about anatomy.
Yep.
They thought the sun was at the center of the universe. And so, from my standpoint, it's if God spoke directly to them as the lower voice of God, why didn't He tell them about gravity? That would help in so many different ways, or refrigeration. And I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
But for me, the problem I have with most religious organizations is that it's more important to hold on to the past, even if the past doesn't really fit with the world today.
Yes.
And I know that's because we're all comfort with having something we can believe in. Because I love going to Friday night Christmas services and singing Silent Night and holding the candle. You know, it's what I grew up with.
So you still do to this day?
Yeah, we do. And we do it more when the kids were younger. But it's these traditions that we care and love about. So for me, because I'm not comfortable with what I hear from the pulpit, though I've heard some great sermons that I've remembered 20 years later, it's more of a spirituality thing. And I'll tell you, so this one sermon was an Easter sermon. And you know, the service goes through, we talk about the story of Easter for all the people who haven't learned it yet. I think everybody knew it. But the priest comes up and he talks about when Jesus rolled the rock away from his tomb. And what he said was, as people, we all face injustice. Somebody doesn't do something right for us. Something doesn't go our way. But the question is, how do we respond to that? Does that become the rock that keeps us in the dark, that keeps us in the tomb? Or do we decide, regardless of what was done to me or what happened to me, I'm going to roll the rock away and step out in the sunlight and enjoy this beautiful world? Now, that was the story of Jesus.
Yes.
But it was also something that really resonated with me in life.
Well, the real message, which was?
Well, the message was, we all have our personal rock.
Yes.
And you know, John F. Kennedy said, here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. So in that case, we need to do God's work and not wait for God to do something for us, but to do what God would want us to do on this earth.
Gotcha. So in other words, you're saying that we need to take action, right? Action is what defines, what makes a real difference, concrete difference.
The right action.
The right action.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting.
Like making you feel more welcome in St. Louis.
Yeah.
That would be the right action.
Oh, that's very sweet. I was going to say, in my yoga practice, I often tell the students that if you have thoughts of empowerment, if you navigate and you reside within your own truth, because the heart tells the truth, yes or not yes, when something feels good and you're drawn towards something that resonates with you, your body will test strong. In other words, if your thoughts are primarily dominated by higher emotions, such as courage, joy, unconditional love, peace, acceptance, tolerance toward any individual, your body will test strong and you actually feel it during practice. Vice versa, if you are residing, if your consciousness resides in the lower fields, such as fear, anger, you're pissed off all the time, you're prideful, you're full of pride because of such and such, your body will automatically test weak or weaker than.
I think that's a great place to stop.
Yes.
That we should heal ourselves first.
Okay. So,
because we're at an hour and a half.
No, I understand.
I think no one's going to want to listen to us for this long.
No, absolutely. But I have one more question
Yes.
for you. Your what keeps you grounded? Number one, if there's some music that you use in your workouts that pump you up.
You know, in my workouts, I listen to podcasts. I have listened to music before, but the last year and a half, I've just been finding podcasts, and I love funny podcasts.
Uh-huh.
So like Amy Poehler has a podcast, Ted Danson's a podcast. They bring in other comedians and actors, and you know, it's just I break out in laughter.
Nice.
Here at the gym.
Wonderful. And what is the most important lesson life has taught you?
I think it's what the Beatles told us.
What is it?
The love you get is equal to the love you give.
Oh, wow. That's a great message. Thank you so much for sharing this one. And what kind of impact do you hope to leave in the lives of your clients?
Oh, that's easy. Just like it was for the people who worked for me, I wanted them to be more successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
I want my clients to fire me
Mm-hmm.
because they can take care of themselves. They
Beautiful.
don't need me.
Nice. Okay, so now let's talk about just how people can reach out to you, right? Because that's what we're here for. We're trying to highlight our own individual businesses and talking about your current availability and contact information. So are you currently accepting new clients for
Yes.
training?
Yes.
What's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Well, I think in choosing a trainer,
Mm-hmm.
you have to first choose a gym.
Yes.
And since the most important thing is getting to the gym,
Yes.
you're going to look for a gym that's convenient to your life. Maybe you work downtown and live in Creve Coeur, so FlexTime is on the way home.
Yeah.
That would be a good reason to look at FlexTime. But there are other gyms along the way home too you could look at.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing is coming to FlexTime first, get a tour from the staff here,
Mm-hmm.
understand how this is a complete gym,
Mm-hmm.
look around and see the people that are working out. Is it too crowded? Is there enough social activity of
Mhm.
people talking because that's supportive?
Yes.
And then pick my card up off the desk.
Wonderful. Do you typically train people one-on-one or in small groups?
You know, I thought when I started this that I would only want to do one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple I worked with, husband and wife,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that while it's more challenging for me because I have to watch the form of two people at once,
Mm-hmm.
and I really felt stressed out after the end of the hour, I could also leverage each other.
Hmm.
So what I would do when we were doing, like when I was teaching deadlifts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we would only do one at a time, and I would talk to both of them at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and I would talk to the one who wasn't working out. Look for these things in your husband or your wife,
Oh,
so
wow.
you give them feedback,
Beautiful.
because that's part of the, you know, give a man a fish or teach a man to fish. You know,
Yes.
tell them what to do or tell them why we're doing it and how we're doing it.
Got it. So where do most of your sessions take place? You know, obviously FlexTime Fitness. Do you do also home visits or online?
Almost all have been at FlexTime.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody has a home gym
Mm-hmm.
that is adequately fixtured,
Mhm.
they have all the right
Yeah.
equipment. I don't have a pickup truck loaded with equipment that I want to unload at somebody's house.
Gotcha.
But if they have that, and it's really important for their time,
Mm-hmm.
because they need someone to come in early in the morning or somebody to come at the end of the day, and just for them to make it work. So again,
Yes.
meeting people where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
And it's also important, if that's going to be how they stay fit going forward, for
Mhm.
me to train them on their gym
Mhm.
is important, because if they go back to their gym and they don't have what we have here at FlexTime, then what good is that?
Gotcha. Great. What's your general availability like? Do you prefer to work in the mornings, evenings, weekends?
So I am limited
Mm-hmm.
to 6 or 7 clients at a
Mhm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
because 12 to 15 hours is about the amount of time I want to spend in the gym, and
Mhm.
then of course the 5 to 8 hours a week preparing for those gym sessions.
Mhm.
So working 20 to 25 hours is kind of what I want to do, so I can do the other things I have in my life.
Mm-hmm. How long are the sessions typically? 45, 60 minutes?
As long as they take,
Okay.
never under an hour.
Never know.
But I want to make sure we get done when you get done. So we go 70 minutes. I don't care about 10 minutes.
Right.
And the time is, you know, I live 10 minutes from the gym.
Good.
So if I have somebody at 8 o'clock one morning and I don't have somebody till 4 o'clock, trust me, I'm staying active doing other things.
All right. If you may want to share, what are your current session rates or packages if you help for
It's $100 an hour for.
Okay, good. You offer any packages or special discounts or no?
I haven't. I try to keep it simple.
Good. Same in my practice. Do you offer, let's see, consultations?
So we always start, and the first session is always a lot longer than an hour. It's
Mhm.
closer to 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to go through a assessment at the beginning,
Yes.
to understand where you are, understand what challenges that you might be working with, understand what your goals are, and then we'll go through and do a little of something throughout the whole gym. Not 3 sets, but maybe 1 or 2 sets, because I want to get a sense of someone's strength in each thing, so the sessions going forward can be better prepared, and to give them an idea of how I work.
Okay.
So it could happen that somebody could go through that session, and that first consultation session is no charge. They could spend 90 minutes to 2 hours with me, and they say, I hate this guy, I don't want to work out with him. I can't imagine spending 2 hours a week for the next 6 months working with them.
I gotcha. Do you have intake forms, like used paper forms?
Yes.
Or, okay. Let's see, what kind of client are you best suited to work with? You said like people in 40s plus or 50 plus. Do you have a preference?
It would 45, 50 plus is an inflection point in people's lives where all of a sudden they have the time to do this. They have the income to do this because they're later in their career.
Got it.
But the most important piece is that they have a why they're doing this.
Yes, strong why.
Yeah, so I have, for me, my why changed when I held my granddaughter for the first time. There's a Dr. Seuss book called Oh, the Places You'll Go, which is for kids. It's a common 6th grade graduation gift. And I'm looking at my little granddaughter, and I'm thinking, how much of her life am I going to see? Will I get to see her grow up through high school, college? Will I see her get married? Will I see a great grandchild? And then I do the math. I got to live 30 years.
Yes.
So I'm 69. I got to live to 100 if I want to see those things. And that became a very important why for me.
Absolutely.
Other people, I had a client who said, they want to be able to play golf and not get hurt. So I started working on my golf certification, golf fitness certification with NASM.
Oh, you did?
So I can help people do things so they don't hurt themselves playing golf, and they can allegedly, the data says you can, if you go through a program like this, you can add 5 yards to your drive, or add 5% to your drive, rather.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think there's got to be a lot of caveats to that. But whatever the why is, if somebody wants to be a better golfer, you need physical training. I better believe that every professional golfer on the tour is working out with a fitness instructor.
Yes. So as long as you focus your attention, your intention to something, and then that area becomes energized, then of course you're the one that keeps accountability. Is there anything someone should know before working with you?
Bring a water bottle.
Bring a water bottle. Okay. That's what we need.
Otherwise, how are you going to exercise your strategic water break when you get tired? And leave it on the other side of the gym so you can walk over there and get that well rested.
Well, it's been a fantastic experience to interview you today. John, how do you say Mandelker?
That's
I did it good? Okay.
That's because you're European, and Europeans tend to pronounce the first syllable. Americans, we tend to use the second syllable, so most people call me Mandelker.
Mandelker, okay.
But you...
Italians tend to pronounce every single letter of every word, so my last name is Spadafora, and so we don't mumble, we actually pronounce clearly every letter.
Unlike the French, who are always dropping letters.
So, Andrea Spadafora and Yogaphora LLC, professional massage therapy and yoga. We are located at 1401 South Brentwood Boulevard in the suite 135. And this gym is open 24/7. Check us out. You can find me on Facebook under Yogaphora. You can call me at 240-645-7786. What is your phone number to reach out to you?
314-973-5485.
Do you prefer to be contacted best by email or text?
Yes.
Both?
Whatever is easiest.
Whatever is easiest.
And the email is jmandelker
at
gmail.com.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed this.